IPA is the Intelligent Parker Amplifier and is a single-axis servo drive controller. The motor connector is on the front as well as the Ethernet ports. There's the 25-pin sub discrete I/O connector on the front. There's the hardware enable inputs on the top with analog inputs. Standard motor feedback on the X6 connector supports incremental encoders and BIS-C. The IPA also supports hyperface DSL feedback, and that connector is on the bottom. With a closer look at the IPA, you can see the rotary dial switches for the Ethernet port settings. One rotary switch is marked S1 and the other S10. S1 is the 1's position and S10 is the 10's position. For example, if you set the address to 14, then you would turn the pointer of the S10 to 1 and the S1 switch to 4. So 10 plus 4 is 14. This IP address is one rotary switch is marked S1 and the other S10. S1 is the 1's position and S10 is the 10's position. So if S10 was set to 2 and S1 was set to 0, then it would be .20. So it's always 192.168.100 and then whatever the dial switches are. If you want to set it to a non-standard IP address, you can do that. You just set the dial switches to 99, and then in the software you can change that with the IAP command and then type esave, and it won't actually take effect until you either do a reboot or cycle power. And from the factory they always ship set to .1 as the default. If you ever forget what the IP address is when you have it set to 99, you can always just set the dial switches back to 1 and 0 and then cycle power, and then you'll be able to connect to the default IP address. On the top of the IPA, there's the redundant torque enable input. So there's two inputs, or the torque enable inputs. They ship with jumpers from the factory connected to 24 volts. So you can always start right away by enabling the motor and getting motion right away. If those are removed, they need to be reapplied within about 1 to 3 seconds of each other. If one is different than the other, then the drive will hardware latch, and then you would need to then cycle power. So that's the hardware enable inputs that are redundant. There's also two analog inputs. They're plus or minus 10 volts, and they're differential, and they're 12-bit resolution on there.